Beyond the Gate spoilers for Wednesday, July 9th, tease that Ashley Morgan and Andre Richardson are officially dating. But their relationship is a secret, concealed beneath layers of deception and betrayal. On the surface, everything seems casual, a few flirtatious glances, a shared laugh at a dinner party, but when the door closes behind them, the truth spills out. One night, the charade fails. Derek Baldwin sees them. Not hears, not suspects, she sees. It happens when Derek shows up unannounced at Ashley's place. Maybe he forgot something, maybe he was just being nosy, or maybe he was following a hunch. Regardless, when he pushes open the door and hears the creak of the floorboards, what he finds is undeniable. Ashley and Andre, tangled in a moment far too intimate to misinterpret. That split second becomes a fuse. Derek, stunned, slips out quietly, but the image clings to him. His mind races. The thing is, Derek doesn't know the full picture. He doesn't realize that Danny, sweet and trusting Danny, is also involved with Andre. The same Andre now sleeping with her best friend. The guilt eats at Derek. He confesses to Danny in what he thinks is just idle gossip. A clumsy slip of the tongue. But the words land like a bomb. The fallout begins when Danny sees it for herself. Andre and Ashley, laughing, fingers laced together like they belong to each other. The betrayal hits her like a car crash. There's no room for confusion, no place to hide. The scene is quiet, almost deceptively peaceful. Just a couple walking down the street. But to Danny, it's war. The confrontation is swift, sharp, and public. A slap across Andre's face breaks the silence, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Ashley tries to explain, Andre fumbles for words, but Danny's already gone. Elsewhere, a different storm brews. Bill and Haley, seemingly secure in their marriage, face a complication that reopens old wounds. Bill has a request. He sits Danny down, his voice calm but deliberate. He thanks her for everything, for being there, for taking care of him, for helping him through the darker days. But then, he drops the real reason for this meeting. He wants Danny to back off. To stop showing up, to stop calling, to stop making Haley feel insecure. Danny's reaction is ice cold. She refuses. Not out of spite, but out of principle. Bill wasn't just her ex-husband. He was someone she still cared about, someone she helped when no one else would. For him to now cast her aside at Haley's request feels like a betrayal. Conflict reignites between the two women. Haley confronts Danny, and the past spills out in ugly fragments. Old accusations, jealousy, resentment, none of it has truly disappeared. Now it bubbles to the surface. Meanwhile, young Tyrell Richardson finds himself drawn to a stranger. The man introduces himself as Kenneth, a friend of Tyrell's late father, Martin. Kenneth is charming in a way that unnerves Martin, who watches from a distance with rising anxiety. The smile on Kenneth's face isn't quite right. He doesn't blink enough. He talks too much about the past. Martin knows something Tyrell doesn't. Kenneth isn't just a friend. He's a shadow from Martin's past, someone who once held too much power, someone who once made threats and maybe even acted on them. Martin pulls Kenneth aside, away from Tyrell, and makes it clear, leave my family alone. Kenneth doesn't flinch. He smirks. He hints that Martin's secrets are bigger than Tyrell realizes. That maybe Martin isn't the hero he pretends to be. The tension crackles. Martin knows it won't end here. Not with Kenneth lingering. On the opposite end of town, Joey Armstrong is sweating. Not visible, he keeps a poker face, but inside, he's panicking. A secret long buried is starting to surface. Randy Parker, Joey's right hand and longtime enforcer, confesses something that shakes Joey to the core. A murder. A waiter who saw too much. Randy claims he handled it, threw the body off the dock, cleaned up the mess. But he also admits he might have been seen. That one line haunts Joey. It gets worse. Randy mentions Kenneth. Not in a confident way, but with hesitation. Like he's not sure Kenneth is dead. Or worse, like the Kenneth they're seeing now might not be the same man. Could be a twin. Could be someone pretending. Joey can't take chances. He tells Randy to disappear. Lay low. keep his head down until things blow over. But Joey is spiraling. What if Kenneth is alive? What if he remembers everything? The night at the docks, the threats, the blood, Joey's whole operation is at risk. He starts making calls. Shadowy figures from his past start reappearing. Old favors are cashed in. But nothing seems to stop the sense that something big is coming. Ashley, reeling from the public disaster with Danny, tries to justify herself. She tells herself she never meant to hurt anyone. That she and Andre just happened. That Danny had been pulling away for months. But guilt creeps in. She checks her phone for messages from Danny. None come. Andre, meanwhile, insists that what they have is real. That Danny was a phase. That this whatever this is between him and Ashley is different. But Andre's charm is starting to fade. Ashley notices how often he deflects questions. How easily he lies. How quickly he moves on from one drama to the next. She starts wondering if she's just another name on a long list. When she tries to pull back, he tightens his grip. Smooth words, late-night texts, unannounced visits. He won't let go. Danny, meanwhile, starts connecting dots. She thinks back to conversations, missed calls, strange absences. She realizes Andre had been juggling both women for longer than she thought. And now she wants answers. Closure. Revenge? Maybe. But more than that, she wants to reclaim her narrative. To stop being the victim. Martin's paranoia deepens. He installs new locks. He watches the street from his window. He warns Tyrell not to trust Kenneth. But Tyrell, naive and lonely, sees Kenneth as a missing puzzle piece. Someone who knew his father, someone who might tell him the truth Martin has always avoided. Tyrell starts asking questions. Martin evades. The trust between father and son frays. Kenneth, for his part, is patient. He plants seeds. He drops half-truths. He lets Tyrell draw his own conclusions. And slowly, Tyrell begins to question everything. Why won't Martin talk about the past? Why does he always seem afraid? Joey starts noticing someone following him. At first, he thinks it's just stress. Then he finds a photo on his car windshield. It's a picture of him and Randy from years ago, near the docks. On the back, a single word, soon. Things are unraveling. Secrets once buried are crawling back into the light. And as all these stories begin to intersect, the town of Fairhill starts holding its breath. Something dark is coming. Everyone can feel it. But no one knows how bad it will get. Ashley isolates herself after the public fallout. She stops returning Andre's calls and avoids familiar places. She starts volunteering at a local animal shelter to distract herself, but even there, whispers follow her. She becomes the symbol of betrayal in town gossip, the girl who broke the code. Meanwhile, Andre tries to spin the narrative. He starts telling mutual friends that Danny had been distant for a while, that Ashley was a comfort, not a betrayal. But the damage is done. His charm doesn't land like it used to. Whispers about his dual relationships and manipulative nature grow louder. Danny, emboldened by anger and a need for control, begins her own quiet campaign. She reaches out to others Andre has dated in the past. She pieces together a disturbing pattern. Andre has a history of emotional manipulation, of overlapping affections, of discarding people when the thrill fades. Danny considers going public with it, all the messages, the stories, even a few confessions she's recorded. But she wants to do more than expose him. She wants to beat him at his own game. Bill and Haley, in the meantime, are unraveling. Haley becomes increasingly paranoid, convinced that Bill is still emotionally attached to Danny. The more Bill tries to reassure her, the more distant she becomes. Haley begins snooping, reading old texts, checking Bill's call logs. When she finds a message from Danny, even though it's harmless, she explodes. The confrontation escalates quickly. Accusations are thrown. Haley demands Bill choose once and for all. But Bill is tired. He misses the simplicity of life before this second marriage. Quietly, he begins reaching out to an old lawyer friend. Danny, sensing an opportunity, begins pushing harder. She starts showing up at places she knows Haley frequents, sometimes just to be seen. The tactic works. Haley lashes out in public, further cementing Danny's image as a threat in her eyes. But behind the scenes, Danny is still reeling from her heartbreak. The public feud becomes both armor and distraction. Tyrell grows more distant from Martin. He starts spending more time with Kenneth, who paints Martin as a man of secrets. Kenneth tells Tyrell stories about his father, some likely exaggerated, others uncomfortably close to truth. Tyrell becomes obsessed with learning who his father really is. He searches through old belongings, notebooks, and photographs. He finds a picture of Martin and Kenneth in military fatigues, arms around each other, faces grim. The date on the back is from a year Martin always said he spent overseas on assignment. The lie cracks something open. Martin realizes he's losing his son. He tries to explain, but every word sounds like another excuse. He admits to knowing Kenneth from the past, but refuses to say more. The secrecy only drives Tyrell deeper into Kenneth's orbit. Kenneth uses this. He begins suggesting that Martin was involved in operations that led to innocent deaths, cover-ups, betrayals. Whether it's true or not, Tyrell begins to see his father in a new, darker light. Kenneth starts showing up uninvited. He lingers around Tyrell's school, drops off gifts, offers to help with anything. Martin, on edge, starts sleeping with a weapon under his bed. He finally confides in an old friend from his past, someone who owed him a favor. That friend promises to look into Kenneth, to find out if he's acting alone or if he's part of something bigger. What Martin doesn't realize is that Kenneth has already started manipulating others in town, using false credentials and fake stories to blend in and build trust. Joey Armstrong is losing control. The mysterious photo was just the beginning. Now anonymous messages arrive at his office. A voice recording. A message played over and over, the sound of a struggle, water splashing, a gasp. Then silence. Joey becomes convinced that Kenneth is alive, that he somehow survived Randy's attempt. He pressures Randy for details. Randy grows defensive. Paranoid. He insists he did the job, but his confidence wavers. Joey begins tailing Kenneth himself. But the more he follows, the more it seems Kenneth is always one step ahead. He even starts appearing in places Joey frequents, a corner of a bar, across the street from his house, standing beside his car in the parking garage. Always with that knowing smile. Joey feels hunted. Desperate, he tries to find leverage. He remembers a warehouse they once used to store insurance, material files, photos, dirt on powerful people. Inside, he finds the lock broken. Someone's been there. Files are missing. One of them was about Martin. Another, about Bill. Joey realizes Kenneth may be playing a long game, not just targeting him, but dismantling the entire network of secrets that has kept men like Joey safe for years. Back at the shelter, Ashley finds an unlikely ally. A woman named Lorraine, who used to work in public relations, offers to help her clean up her reputation. They devise a plan. Ashley agrees to speak at a local women's group, sharing her story of healing after betrayal, carefully leaving out the fact that she was the betrayer. The speech is surprisingly well received. People start to warm up to her again. She leans into the narrative, even if it means lying to herself. Andre doesn't take it well. He shows up at one of her events, trying to confront her. She ignores him. He grows agitated. A video of him yelling at Ashley goes viral. Public sympathy swings heavily in her favor. Andre is officially the villain now. Sponsors and social circles start pulling away. Andre tries to reconnect with Danny, spinning a story about being misled by Ashley. Danny isn't fooled. Randy vanishes. His apartment is found empty. His car is parked by the river. No signs of struggle, but Joey knows better. He believes Kenneth got to him. He starts wearing a bulletproof vest. He hires a private security firm. But he also starts making moves of his own. He reaches out to Haley, of all people, hinting that he has information about Bill's past. Haley, curious and increasingly suspicious of her husband, agrees to meet. The meeting is tense. Joey doesn't reveal much, just enough to plant seeds of doubt. He tells Haley that Bill and Martin were part of a group that did questionable things during their time overseas. That Danny may know more than she admits. Haley becomes obsessed. She begins recording conversations, eavesdropping, logging times Bill leaves the house. What she finds is unclear, but her demeanor changes. Cold. Calculating. Tyrell finally confronts Martin. He demands to know the truth. Martin cracks. He confesses to having worked with Kenneth in a military black ops unit that went rogue. Kenneth went off mission, killed a civilian, and tried to pin it on Martin. Martin fled, changed his name, built a new life. He thought Kenneth was dead. Tyrell listens in silence. The truth shakes him, but he begins to understand his father's paranoia. Kenneth, however, is prepared for this revelation. He leaks a file to local media, heavily edited video showing Martin participating in a raid. Explosions. Gunfire. Screams. The implication is clear. Martin is a war criminal. The media explodes. Reporters show up at his door. Tyrell is suspended from school. Their life implodes. Danny finds herself caught in the crossfire of multiple stories. Ashley's redemption arc is gaining traction, Andre is spiraling, and Haley is now looking into her. Danny decides to fight fire with fire. She anonymously leaks proof of Andre's lies, text threads, emails, voicemails to a blog that covers local scandals. It goes viral. Andre loses his job. His reputation is in ruins. He knows Danny did it, but can't prove it. Then, one morning, Danny receives a package. No return address. Inside is a thumb drive. It contains footage of the night the waiter was killed. Grainy, but clear enough to see Randy. And Joey. And another shadowy figure, possibly Kenneth. The message is obvious. Someone wants Danny to know the truth. Or use it. Or both. She doesn't know what to do with it yet. But she knows this. The war isn't over. The gates that once kept the darkness sealed have been flung open. And now, everyone who once thought themselves untouchable is running out of places to hide. The final chapter begins with Danny quietly contacting a journalist from a national outlet, someone she trusts to handle the story with care. Together, they begin building a case. They verify the footage, identify timestamps, and cross-reference the audio with cell tower data. Piece by piece, the truth forms into something undeniable. Joey was there. So was Randy. And Kenneth, or someone who looks like him. At the same time, Kenneth makes his most brazen move yet. He invites Martin to a remote cabin, claiming he wants to clear the air. Martin agrees, but only after rigging his car with a GPS tracker and leaving instructions with his old friend. When Martin arrives, Kenneth is waiting with Tyrell. It's not a conversation, it's an ambush. Kenneth lays out his twisted vision of justice, accusing Martin of betrayal, of cowardice, of abandoning the mission and the men who died because of it. But Tyrell sees through it. Kenneth's righteousness crumbles under the weight of his obsession. When he pulls a gun on Martin, Tyrell steps between them. This ends now, he says. And it does. A single gunshot rings through the forest. Kenneth is dead. Authorities arrive, thanks to the GPS signal. Martin confesses everything. He doesn't hide. Doesn't run. The footage Danny provided is handed to federal agents. Joey is arrested on conspiracy and obstruction charges. His empire crumbles. The truth spills out into headlines, broadcasts, podcasts. The entire town watches in awe as the rot beneath their community is dragged into the light. Ashley disappears from the public eye. Lorraine helps her relocate, start fresh in another state. Danny, meanwhile, chooses not to return to her old life. She decides to write a book about what happened, not to shame, not to sensationalize, but to heal. Her story becomes a bestseller. Bill divorces Haley quietly. They part ways with no final blow-up, no courtroom drama, just mutual exhaustion. Martin is sentenced, but given leniency due to cooperation and the psychological burden he's carried for years. Tyrell begins therapy. He visits his father often. The town moves on. Slower than it fell apart, but forward all the same. And for the first time in years, there are no more whispers behind doors, no more shadows on the street. The gates have closed.